Welcome to the Amazon Legends podcast, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became powerful sellers, also experts specializing in helping sellers, and both former and current Amazon employees who will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here's your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legend. My guest today is a serial entrepreneur. He's been in e-commerce for almost a decade, and he's in eco-friendly kitchen product space. And he's also the host of the Seller Process podcast. So everybody meet my guest, Gianmarco Meli. Welcome to the show, Gianmarco.
Hey, Nick. Glad to be here.
Great to have you here. So everybody, I usually start with something interesting, and here I have a riddle for everybody listening. So when you cross an Italian who lives in Bali and has a Hong Kong company to sell products, what do you get? So Gianmarco has the answer for this, right, Gianmarco? So what is the answer?
Well, yeah. I have the answer. I mean, that's an Amazon seller who happened to be me. That's the answer.
So let's because this is becoming quite a trend these days especially after COVID. The remote work environment has become so popular and frankly required in many cases. People are kind of choosing to live wherever they want rather than go where the work is. So let's get into the logistics of this. So first of all, you being an Italian is not really that important because everybody's from somewhere in America, right? So that's not that important. However, being an Amazon seller with a Hong Kong company, so let's talk about that, because in order to open an account in Amazon on Amazon Marketplace in the US, you need to have certain requirements. So walk us through your corporate structure, first of all, for your Amazon selling account.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the main reason why I started this Amazon business with the Hong Kong companies that I used to live in China. So I spent over like 6 years living in China, and that's kind of a best practice for most Chinese sellers or foreigners who live in China, is to set up a company in Hong Kong. Also because there are like lots of tax benefits. So if you're not a resident in the US and you also don't have a very stable place, let's say, so you're able to do this kind of, let's say, digital nomad life, right? So setting up your company in one of these tax havens, it might be an option for you. Tax havens are, for example, Hong Kong, Singapore, and even the US. It's a tax haven for non-US residents. So that was my first choice. So basically, I set up this Hong Kong company, and I linked it directly to the Amazon account in the US, and that's what actually most sellers based in China do. And that's what I've done, and it gives you lots of. There are obviously pros and cons to this structure, but the pro is it's a big one, because you basically don't pay income taxes on everything that is all the income that comes from outside Hong Kong. So in this case, I sell in the US and other like 5 countries, and so the income tax. The income is not taxed in Hong Kong. So that's the pro. There are some other cons that, like, I cannot set up, I cannot get some lending. I cannot borrow money basically from most of these companies that are lending money only to US companies, and I cannot get a credit card. It's difficult to set up a bank account, even though you actually don't need it, because there are all these kind of financial services like wallets For example, like TransferWise, Payoneer, AirWallex. These are all like similar to banks and allows you to do business in a similar way as if you have a bank account.
So your seller account, you have a professional selling plan, and that is registered in the name of your Hong Kong company.
Right.
So let's talk about your brand registry. So what your brands, where are your brands registered, and whose name are they in?
Yeah, so that's really simple. It's a very similar structure as if you own an LLC, for example, or a C corp. I have all the brands registered under the Hong Kong company directly. Which in the beginning I thought it would be my kind of mother, let's say, company, like but eventually it's actually, for me, it's also an operational company. So in the future I actually plan to move every like intellectual properties to the Hong Kong company, and then set up like operational companies that operate the individual brands. But that was the first structure when I didn't know anything about corporate structure. So that's how I went on in the beginning. Now I would probably do things differently, but that was the structure I started with, and it still worked fine for me.
So I mean, you didn't know maybe at the beginning, but you did it the right way, because the most significant thing here is the brand registration with the Patent and Trademark Office has to be in the same company's name as the one that owns the seller account. That's how you connect the two. So if you had your Hong Kong company to set up your seller account, and then you registered the brand in your parent company's name, then they would be different, and your seller account would basically be seen as a reseller of that brand. It would not connect. Mm-hmm. So you did it the right way, and that's usually the case. But what I'm hearing for the first time actually is, I mean, I guess it's not uncommon, but I just didn't come across any a seller that owns a brand that's on brand registry that is controlled by a non-US company, a Hong Kong company.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the structure of most foreigners or foreign companies, right? So US residents usually set up a company in the US, also because they might have problems with the IRS if they do otherwise. But if you're not a US resident, you can set up the company usually in the place where you are resident. But in my case, I was resident in China at that time, so that was the reason why I set it up there. And but if you have, as I said, certain conditions, like you're a digital nomad, so you really don't have let's say a specific place of residence, it could be a good opportunity to set up companies in these tax havens.
Yeah, and your trademark registration
and benefit of that. Yeah.
So, but your trademark registration was with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, right? So you still have to register in the U.S., but you can put it in the name of the foreign entity, and then the same foreign entity has the seller account. So that's the structure. Okay, exactly. That's good to know. There's one question though. This may be one of the cons, I guess. So. Recently, Amazon implemented this new thing, I guess, about providing more information about sellers. They display the flag of the seller's country above the listing. So in your case, does it show the Hong Kong flag, or what does it show?
Yeah, it would be the Hong Kong flag. Yeah, which is a red flag with some kind of leaves or something.
Yeah. I noticed those. There's quite a few. I mean, it's the American flags and then the Hong Kong flags. There's quite a few. So now I understand why. So basically, does that mean that whenever we see that red flag, there's more than likely it's a Chinese operating it behind the scenes?
I mean, the Hong Kong flag is different from the Chinese flag, actually.
Yeah.
So usually Chinese people, they set up a company in China, while foreigners living in China, they set it up in Hong Kong.
Oh,
That's
I
a little bit
see.
different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a difference. Yeah, because it was before it was part of Great Britain, right? So, and then when it reverted back to China, it became part of Chinese territory, but Hong Kong maintained this independent spirit and some kind of I see. So
Right.
Chinese people, so Chinese operated seller accounts have the Chinese flag, but not, foreigners living in China operate the seller accounts with the Hong Kong flag. Okay, that's a new.
Most of the time, let's say, yes.
Cool. Okay, so tell us about your operation as far as having, for anybody who's looking to do the same kind of thing. When I say same kind of thing, living outside the U.S. but running, I'm assuming you're doing FBA, right?
Yes.
So how do you structure that operation? Walk us through.
Yeah, well, I guess it would not be that different from a U.S. resident in a way, because everything can be done, online, right? So even U.S. people running their operations with an FBA account, they do everything online. So I would say there is not too many differences. It's just the way I'm structuring it is. Maybe I'm more focused on efficiency, and kind of achieving more with less, building a team, and trying to create systems, and also writing SOPs and structuring the business in a way that would give me more time, and make me able to scale it while I'm also traveling and living abroad. So yeah, maybe we can go more into the specifics of certain type of operations, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm always very systems oriented, so I'm always thinking process, systems, and but at some point in time, things start to happen physically. So in this case, since you are selling products, so the products come from where? They are made in the US or come outside?
Mostly it's made in China, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody is importing the products into the US, paying the shipping fees and the duty. So who is the importer in the US?
Usually we work with like a DDP terms, which means it's all taxes paid inside the quotation of the shipment. So usually basically okay, now I mean I know what I mean by general operation. So basically we develop our products, we contact Chinese factories, and then we develop the products through them. We check samples, and we agree on terms, and then basically place the orders to the Chinese factories, and they ship the products to our freight forwarders of choice. We have freight forwarders companies that we work with since several years, and they ship the products directly to the US FBA warehouse. Okay, so basically we just pay one flat fee, included of taxes and everything, and we don't need to buy custom bonds. We don't need to have our own to work with customs basically in the US. So it's everything managed by the freight forwarders, and until the products get to the FBA warehouse, we get the email that the products are checked in, and then we start selling. Once the factory ships to our freight forwarders, then they are in charge of shipping the products to the FBA warehouse. We work with several freight forwarders since several years, and they basically ship the products directly to the FBA warehouse, including in the price all the taxes and custom duties. So they are in charge of that, doing the custom clearance. We don't need to worry about that basically until the product reaches the FBA warehouse, and we get the products checked in, and we start selling like everybody else.
So when the shipment arrives in the US, somebody has to be declared as the importer of the goods, right? So is that the freight forwarder company that does that?
Yes, they are the ones who basically declare things for us.
Okay, so they
That's
are
right.
the importer of record. So
Yes.
on the books, really, they appear to be making purchases, but without any sale, right? They are not selling anything.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not like 100% sure how that works in their own books, but eventually we just show to our bookkeepers, to our accountants, the invoices that we get from the freight forwarders and from the factories, and then that's basically our costs, including of all duties.
Okay.
So I guess they have a different way to account for their expenses, but they basically invoice us of the shipment service, including the custom duties.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are certain requirements, sometimes restrictions, sometimes limitations on the kind of products that you can bring into the country as an importer. You may need to get an import license and things like that, depending on the kind of product. So it's all on the freight forwarder because they are acting as the importer of the products. So okay, it's a different service. That this is not your typical freight forwarder service. This is going over and above just handling the shipment, right?
Yes, but I think I've heard lots of actually US sellers using the same method. It just takes a lot of work out of your shoulders, and it works perfectly. I don't know what would be honestly the advantages to do the custom clearance by yourself. I guess that there are, because I never used it. I never did it like myself. I always relied on these freight forwarding companies that have done that for us. And I know like most people that I know actually do the same way. So it works very well.
Yeah. So let's now continue from that point on. So the merchandise arrives. So as you know, especially after COVID, Amazon puts limits on how much they will receive on your behalf into the FBA warehouse. So a lot of companies have either their own warehouse or a 3PL, so that whenever they are shipping containers or whatever, it goes to 3PL, and then from 3PL you break it up into small shipments and then send them to FBA warehouse, as depending on whatever you are allowed to do. So is that the operation you have?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Recently, as you know, the restock limits went off, so you can send pretty much as you like. There's still some limitations, but during COVID time, for sure, I've used to work with two 3PLs, one in East Coast and one in the West Coast. And we were shipping products there, and from there, shipping to Amazon. We still actually do it for our like best-selling products. We always keep some reserve stock inventory in each of these warehouses, so that in case of any sales spikes or unforeseen events that delays our shipments, then we always have some reserve inventory to replenish our FBA inventory.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing is, for anybody who wants to use this model, it's essential to have a 3PL to handle your excess inventory. Or I believe what they are doing now is they do still, especially if you are a brand new seller, you're just starting out, you will have limits because they don't want to just take in, they don't want to be a warehouse storing your products. Since you have no track record, they are going to want to start with a limit. And also what they are doing is, rather than putting a limit on per SKU, they are putting a limit on the seller account. And then you can use that limit any way you want. But then again, you know, if you are performing and you have fairly significant amount of, you know, volume, then they're not going to get in front of, you know, your sales. They are going to support it. But challenge is usually, you know, when you are not so big, too big to be small, but too small to be big. That's where the problem is. So no man's land. So okay. So so you're basically managing everything online. So when the shipment leaves, you're tracking, and then once it arrives here, you can decide what to send to FBA and so on and so forth. Is that the way it goes?
Yeah, for sure. You know, some products, you know, I didn't see them maybe maybe my photographer have seen some of the products before me, you know, because they are the ones that need to see the products first, you know. So definitely, yeah, I have like a very low touch type of operations because I'm not in the US. And I manage everything from different places. So yeah, last year I was in Italy. Now I'm in Bali. So, but that's pretty much, you know, the type of operations that we do. In 90%, I would say it's similar to US based sellers.
Yeah. So you mentioned your photographer. So basically, when you buy something, there is in some cases there is no listing yet. Listing has to be created after the shipment arrives here. Is that the case?
Yeah, of course. The listing is always created basically as soon as we need to create the shipment. So once the product is you know, ready to be shipped in our factory, then we create the listing and create the shipping plan. So yeah, only at that point the listing is just created just to have an ASIN to work on, and then the actual copy and pictures they are actually uploaded as soon as the product arrives in the warehouse. So in FBA, I mean.
Okay.
That usually.
So creating the ASIN is a significant step, of course, right? Because that ASIN will get a URL. So that URL, if it contains the keywords, that's an advantage for you, right? Do you utilize that? That it is sometimes referred to as canonical URL. Do you utilize that?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, what we do is that we need to have at least some basic keyword research done before we create the product on Amazon. So we input we just put keyword stuff, the title, in the very beginning, just to create the canonical URL that has as many keywords as possible. And then once the product is actually in FBA, we redo everything. We modify the title in a way that it complies to our SOPs to create a listing copy, and then we add the images and so on. So we make the listing ready as soon as the product is in FBA. But before that, yes, we take advantage of this, let's say, trick of the canonical URL in order to have more chance to make the product rank in Google search. That's essentially for the canonical URL. It's used for Google discoverability. So that's how to use that. And actually, the canonical URL should contain keywords that rank well on Google. not much on Amazon, because that's where it's going to be used. So yeah, we do some like basic keyword research on Google, and keyword stuff the title as soon as we create the ASIN for the first time, just to imprint those keywords in the canonical URL, and then we move from there.
Yeah. So this is for the benefit of the listeners. The canonical URL is the URL that's amazon.com/dp/ whatever comes after that. Those are keywords that are selected from the title that you submit when you first create the ASIN. So it is always a good idea not to rush into creating those listings like you are doing. You do the keyword research and you figure out what will be the keyword strategy, at least preliminarily. What keywords am I going to go after? You have to do this research and determine which keywords you are going to associate yourself with. And once you do that, if you create the title in a way that will work best with those keywords, and there is a specific way to line them up, then the first 5 words, not 6, but 5 words will be picked up, and then they'll become part of your URL. And so if you don't do this in a deliberate way, using the structure that Amazon looks for, then Amazon system will pick any 5 words from your title, and then that will become your canonical URL. So that's very important, and it all has to do with where you put the hyphen or dash. So it's a bit of a tricky situation, but there is definitely huge value in doing the research and then creating the ASINs after structuring your title in a specific way. Then you can't go back and change it, right? Once it's created, you're done. That is there permanently, right?
Yes, should be. Although I've heard all kinds of things that there is some people who are able to do that. I still haven't learned that trick. If I do, I will let you know. But as far as I know right now, it is said and done the first time. But there's some rumors that says that some people are able to to change it. But yeah.
Well, and with technology, anything is possible. After all, this is masking, right? They are, because really behind the scenes, it's a bunch of gibberish that is in the URL that just redirects that those words are basically search engine friendly ways for the URLs to be created, but they are really pointing to, database references. It can be changed, I assume, if they figured it out. But then I would question, if your listing was picked up, the reason why you would want to change it is because you realize, oh, this was wrong, but in the meantime, it got indexed all over the place. And if you change it now, there'll be dead URLs. So I don't know. That would be my first question. If you want to change, why would you want to do that? You'll have dead URLs. Anyway, all right, I understand the operation. So as far as the rest of the operation is just online, managing your campaigns, managing your replenishment for the FBA warehouse and things like that, right? So tell us some of the challenges you have in this kind of an operating structure.
Well, the challenges are like I guess most people are facing since a couple of years. It's logistics. It's a big challenge because logistics and production, everything has slowed down because of several reasons, because of COVID, because of like power shortage in China. So you need to basically plan everything much ahead. So it makes everything more difficult. Also, with the fact that shipping costs are raised significantly in the past couple of years. Before I was shipping much more by air. But now it's basically I totally abandoned, that route and only ship by sea, which typically takes between 30 to 60 days, depend what kind of shipment do you use. So you need to plan much way ahead if you want to have the products arriving on time at the FBA warehouse. So that's one of the main challenge. Also, racing competition, people just lowering their prices just to get some more market share. Although I should say I don't have that much of a problem in my case, because my brand actually sells for the highest price in the niche, and we are the best sellers in the niche. So that's actually something I'd like to share with people, that don't be afraid to raise your price and try to position your brand always as a premium brand, so that you can command also higher prices and higher margins. Because I think that has been one of the main challenges I've had, the past couple of years, which I happen to solve, let's say in the last 9 months to 1 year, is the profitability of the products. There is prices go down relatively to even if there is inflation, generally the margins go down, and because also PPC costs go up. So being able to manage the profitability of your products has become a challenge for many. And I should say now I feel much better and much more confident about that. But that has been definitely one of the challenges, together with the logistics.
And the reason why you feel confident is because you've increased your prices?
The reason why I feel more confident is that I managed to optimize my listings and my brand in a way that it's positioned as the premium brand in the niche, so that basically people actually are more attracted to this product, and they don't mind paying more compared to other products. So that gives me higher margins. And also, like, being able to having higher volumes now allows me to place very large orders to with my factory, and also so that I can negotiate very good prices with my factory and also with the freight forwarders. So now I'm basically getting much better rates, both from the factory and from the freight forwarders. So that gives me an advantage. So it keeps my my margins higher than probably what my competition has. And another reason is that I've, let's say, improved much more, my understanding of my processes and systems around listing optimization. So my best-selling ASIN is converting over 20%, which is very, very high actually. So basically my PPC costs are also much lower because the listing converts well. So I have quite low A costs. So it's a number of factors, obviously, that contributes to make everything run more smoothly.
So this is a good segue to my next question. So what are some numbers you are watching at macro level, as well as when you drill down? What are those? And what is the frequency? How often?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because it's actually something that I also coach other sellers about. I have several clients that I work with about these topics, like managing your numbers and systemizing your business. So one of the topics is exactly this one: how to create a scorecard, what I call a scorecard, which is basically essentially a very simple spreadsheet that me and my team update every week. So every Monday we have a number of metrics that each of us update, and these are basically the most important metrics to give you a very good understanding at one glance of what's the let's say the current situation of the business. So this is a very, very important habit that I suggest every Amazon seller to start implementing, because many times, problems comes up and people figure out that there is a problem, maybe with weeks of delay, right? They don't even know there is a problem unless they are tracking the right metrics. So basically, it's like, for example, to give you an example, it's like the dashboard in your car, right? In your car, once you sit, you see, the speed at which you're going, you see the level of oil, you see if there is any icon, flashing out to tell you whether it's something bad is going on or not. So it's a dashboard. It's a dashboard that is telling you at one glance. Basically, some of the main metrics that I look at is obviously revenue, then PPC spending, then tacos. That's one of the most important. So the total ACOS, so also including organic sales. I always strive to maintain tacos at less than 15%. Usually I go between 10. Okay. Another metrics that I look at is tacos, which is the total ACOS, right? Basically, that includes the organic sales and the PPC sales, which I recommend to keep at less than 15%. Depends on your margin, obviously, but that's my target. I usually run with somewhere between 10 and 13%, but maximum I look at 15% tacos. So in case that goes over 15%, that's kind of a red flag for me to start acting and do something. I like to keep my tacos at around 15%. If it goes over that, it's a red flag to me that it's telling me I need to do something because my spending is growing too much. So that's basically an indicator for me to act and check on these metrics, on what could be the cause of this increased tacos. So some other metrics we track is the product development funnel. This is something I've developed myself. It's basically I track the whole process from product research to evaluation to sampling. So ordering samples and submitting the first order to the factory, because I want to make sure that I'm always in the product development phase. I want to always create more products. So I basically follow the products throughout the funnel from product research to first order and see how this develop. And I wanna see basically these numbers going, moving from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. And then we have some like marketing metrics, like number of followers in our different social media accounts, and also number of emails that we collect from customers through our lead magnets or Shopify accounts. And also the influencers outreach. And so like how many influencers we reach out to every week and how many we close. And lastly, I started recently also to track conversion rate, which I think it's the most important metric of anything else, the most important one. So for all the products I have, I track the conversion rate. of each of them week by week, and I check if there is anything off for a certain period of time. Then I start looking at what could be the causes of that and act on it. So this is an essential tool for you to take control of your business. I think I could not run a business without that. I would feel like running it blind. So I really suggest anybody to have some sort of scorecard, like I call it, because it's it's essential to make good decisions in your business, also in a promptly manner, because maybe if you don't have something like that, you might discover the problem when it's too late. Okay, so that makes you get a pulse of that.
So you said so many things. So numbers happen to be my main interest area, and you mentioned the magic metric that I love. One of the 2 magic bullets that I always call for success on Amazon, and that's conversion rate. So we'll get to it in a second, but I heard something for the first time that I'd like to learn more about, and I'm sure our listeners will want to know. Your product development. Tell me about what is the metric? What is the calculation of the metric? Are you looking at how many products you have and how many days? And describe that a little bit more.
Yeah, so basically what I just mentioned that I track, it's the different steps of the funnel. So always, during the product research, you start with looking at products, right? Then evaluating them. Then you choose some of those products and start contacting factories. And then for some of the good factories, you order samples, and then from the samples you might create a first order and then ship the products. Okay, so this is a funnel. Basically, you start with a lot of products that you're looking at, and you screen. Every time you go a step further in the funnel, you eliminate some options and you go forward with other options, right? So that's what I track. Basically, I have my own system to evaluate products. I created a quite complex spreadsheet that gives me some metrics that I don't see in any tools. This is something actually I will release to everybody to use for themselves in the near future. But essentially, that's what I'm tracking. So basically, through this spreadsheet, I start with an idea list with maybe, let's say, more than 100 ideas. Then I pick only the best ones, which I start with. I start doing more deeper levels of evaluations on the best ones. Then the ones that pass my evaluations, basically, then I start contacting factories, and then that moves on to the ordering samples.
You're tracking number of items in each stage. Is that
in each stage? Right, exactly.
Okay. Do you track how long each stage lasts or not? Because that's also part of efficiency, right? So if you for, let's say you have 5 different stages and each one takes 5 days, are you also tracking on this product I took 10 days, on this product I took 3 days? Are you tracking that or not?
I'm not tracking it by product, by simply putting these numbers in this tracker, in this scorecard that I mentioned. You can see like how these numbers are moving from one step to another. But it would be interesting also to track that. It's just something I've not done yet, but based on my experience, I know the how long it's taking me on each step, and that you are right that it's always a metric that I keep in mind to streamline the process and make it more efficient. So
so conversion rate is what you mentioned. So just to recap for the listeners' benefit, so ACoS is advertising cost of sale, and that's tracked as a percentage. what that means is you paid $100 in advertising, and you generated $300 in sales from those clicks that you paid for. That's 30% ACoS, right? $100 you paid, those clicks generated $300. So that's 30% ACoS. However, you also get organic search, people clicking, they are searching, and then your listing comes up, especially as you rank up, as you do well with your promotional efforts, you rank up. And when you rank up, you get organic sales that you don't pay for, and they also end up becoming a sale. So now what you have in that same period, you may generate $1,000 in sales in total, and you have $100 you paid in advertising, paid clicks, generated $300 in advertised sales, $1,000 total. So your ACoS is 30%, but your TACoS is 100 versus 1,000 is 10%, right? That's what you are tracking, because what matters at the end of the day, you can advertise all day long, as long as your TACoS is within an acceptable number. In your case, you said 15% is what you are happy with. And if it goes over 15%, you do something about it. Conversion rate, on the other hand, is what I call one of the magic bullets, and that is you bring all those sales, the $1,000 worth of sales. That is the result of X number of people landing on your product page. Now, how do you make more of the people to buy the product, right? So let's say that you brought 10,000 people to the page and 1,000 of them bought. You converted at 10%. If you make that 10%, 15%, you got 1,500, right? Versus 1,000. So your raw return. So conversion rate is the last golden bullet that I say magic golden bullet. If you work on that, you'll always be solving all your problems. Your advertising will be much better, your sales, your margin. And of course, this is a moving target. You have to look at it all the time, every time. And at the same time, like you can't look at it Monday and Wednesday. You have to look at it for the same time period and look at it in perspective. What was it this week, last month, last quarter, last year, this quarter? All these comparisons you have to be doing, and you have to look at it in conjunction with the things that you have done. So, because conversion rate does not live on its own. It is the result of certain things. What is it that you did, and then what happened? Maybe it didn't work, it dropped. So if you don't know what you did, the drop is not going to mean anything to you. So things like that. And also when you increase your traffic, conversion rate always goes down because more numbers, less. So if you don't know these things, obviously, it's not going to mean as much. So I can talk all day about conversion rate. So now I want to talk about your team, because you've got something in there. So describe to us quickly what your team looks like to run this operation, and share with us, there's something about how you put your team together. So share with us that information.
Yeah, sure. So I've changed my team members a couple of times already. I've learned a lot of lessons throughout the years. My current setup is just basically with 3 people, including me. Plus, of course, there's like freelancers and so on, but mostly, the people working on a daily basis, it's just 3, like me, a designer who's also a photographer and copywriter, and a marketing manager who does basically operations and manages social media. So basically, I do most of the work in terms of product development and also PPC management. And my marketing manager does cooperate with a designer in order to create all the creatives, like the product pictures, the photography, the A+ content, the listing copy, and so on. They also do the keyword research on the products, and and then manage all the marketing parts on and off Amazon, like mostly off Amazon, actually, like the social media management in different platforms, also the influencers outreach, and as I said, the photographer, the designer instead, is the one that does the actual designs, together with like getting the inputs from the marketing manager, and then also does the photography. So she's the first person who gets the product as soon as it's ready, and then she makes the photographies, and after that creates the graphics of our listings. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. And I forgot that the marketing manager also has some other like operational tasks, like inventory management. So she's the one who creates shipping plans, and does now also customer service, like replying emails from the Shopify users, or from Amazon, or Q&A, and so on. So it's a little bit doing everything like a brand manager, but more focused on marketing. And then on the other side, the designer, it's just doing creative tasks.
So when you and I spoke, you mentioned, because finding good people is the biggest challenge, right? So you need people in order to grow. And of course, in order to grow, finding these people becomes a huge task. And you find someone really good, then you are in luck. But
True.
That's the biggest challenge. So you developed a process to find the right person for the jobs that you have, or the responsibilities. So share with us a little bit about your process.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's a very interesting question, because we have like my partner and I have created a poll on LinkedIn, which was quite successful, which was asking people what is the main challenge for Amazon sellers when looking for to hire a VA, and the vast majority of people answered that it was the difficulty to identify the right candidate. Right. So the main problem is that you put your job description into one of these platforms like Upwork or Online Jobs. You start getting lots of candidates, but then the $1 million question is like, who's the right candidate to join my team, right? So you never know. It's very difficult to identify that. And another like funny thing is that most people, if you ask, most people will agree that hiring, it's a critical process in your business. Like literally, hiring the right person can be a game changer for your business, while if you hire the wrong person, it's a disaster. It's gonna take you money and effort, and it's gonna be very painful. So it is a critical operation inside your business, but yet most people don't have a process or a system, and they use what I call the manual way. Basically, so just to describe it quickly, they simply create a very general job post in just one platform, and then they start getting some candidates, and waste a lot of time screening the CVs, looking for different information that these candidates shared with them, and then just they start making decisions on little data and mostly gut feelings, and they pick one or few people for an interview, which again is not a structured interview with asking basically different random questions, and in the end they basically don't create any data structure that help them to make a good decision, and they end up either being frustrated with figuring out who can be the best candidate. And many times, like it happened to me in the past, many people end up hiring the wrong person and go through all the frustration that goes with it. So basically, a few several actually months ago, I met my current partner on this new venture, that is basically an automation expert, and he has been basically hiring VAs as a service for other companies for several years. And he, in order to do this on a scale, to hire several VAs for several companies as a service, he developed basically a system that automates majority of the tasks during the hiring process, and also makes it much simpler and more effective to identify who's the best candidate. So basically, I started by being a user of his system, and then I fell in love with that. And because I actually hired my last few team members through this system, so I fell in love with that, and then we partner up to basically offer it to everyone else.
So this is available. This is available for others to use.
Yeah, absolutely. We recently launched it, let's say in let's say a soft launch, because we still haven't done any like big launch, but it's a proven and tested process that has been working has hired basically over 100 VAs for dozens of companies. So it's a process that is already working since a long time, and we just recently, really just a few weeks ago, made it available for other people to order and use in their own business.
That's great. So we obviously want to know more about it, but I'm sure we can give people information about where they can learn more about it. So for the little time we have left, I want to learn a little bit about you. So enough business talk. So we know you are from Italy. So tell us where you grew up, and what was your experience growing up that kind of led the way to what you do today.
Okay, yeah, sure. So basically, I'm from Sicily, which is another island. So I jump from islands to islands. I was basically.
So you're not. Wait a minute. So you're not Italian. You are Sicilian, right? You're totally different.
Yeah, I'm Sicilian. Exactly, totally different. Yeah, we're more like North African than Italians.
Yeah, I know the difference. Yes. To know better. I don't want to call it Sicilian Italian. So okay. So go ahead. Continue.
Yes. So then basically, I studied economics in Italy, and then I spent like 6 months in Sweden during my university, and that's where I really fell in love with living abroad, because talking with several people from all around the world, that's where I learned English, by the way. I arrived there without speaking a word of English, and I realized that I really love to live abroad. And basically, after university, I took a master program that led me to China. I was like 6 months in Italy, 6 months in Shanghai. And basically, I ended up living in Shanghai for 6 years. In Shanghai, I had some of the best experiences of my life, especially like business-wise. That's where I started my first business. Essentially, like I worked 9 months in my life for other companies, and then I started my first startup when I was like 24. So at that time, basically, I had being Italian, I was missing my food, my good Italian food from from my place. So I found that lots of other foreigners in Shanghai were feeling the same. So basically, I joined another like a Chinese friend. Together we we started this project called the Group Mall. It was basically like a platform. We developed a platform to basically sell group buy deals on food products that we were importing from all over the world. So yeah, we were basically filling that gap that lots of people were looking for cheap but good food. So through group buying, we were providing that, and we were lucky enough to be picked by like a VC, like a venture capitalist firm that basically invested in us through an accelerator. And that was an amazing experience that totally changed my life, because you can understand, the level of expertise and knowledge that we were exposed to in this thanks to these VCs, that were providing us top level mentors and investors to that were giving suggestions on how to run the business. Nonetheless, I basically made all the mistakes possible. That was my first venture, and I was 24, and everything was on my shoulders, and I basically did all kinds of mistakes. The company ended up, like after 2 years, I ended up closing that company. Because there was not too much going on. We basically spent all the money that we were given, and
you were like kids in a candy store.
Exactly.
You were buying the stuff that you like to eat, and somebody gave you a lot of cash to spend.
Exactly.
You wanted. That's like a dream for any entrepreneur.
Exactly. So for an entrepreneurial perspective, I think I've learned so much just in a couple of years, and that made me realize like how important systems and processes were, because I didn't even know the word SOP at that time. I was totally running blind and doing whatever it was coming at me every day. I was in a reactive mode, and that's why I'm so fond now on systems and SOPs, because I know that the reason of my previous failure was the lack of systems and processes, right? So that's why now I put much more emphasis on that. I even ended up creating this podcast called The Seller Process, which we're all about systems and SOPs, because from that experience I learned that it's really the key to scale any business and to manage a business properly and effectively. So yeah, after that, I just tried all kinds of businesses. I've been in maybe 10 different businesses in a span of the next 2 years. And one of these was also the Amazon FBA, which in 2018 was the main thing, the main what lots of people were talking about on YouTube. And I said, okay, let's try. I was doing like 3 other businesses at the same time, and that ended up then being my full-time business right now. And
Amazon business is all about systems and processes, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's the perfect fit. So tell us about how people can connect with you. Give us your contact information. We'll put it on our website, and also with the episode, wherever the episode is published, but also the information on your hiring process, how people can find out more about it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm active on LinkedIn. People can find me typing my name, Gianmarco Meli. And you can write me if you like to my email is gm@thesellerprocess.com. And you can reach us to us through also the website, thesellerprocess.com. And if you want to learn more about the hiring system, it's very simple, because the URL is thesellerprocess.com/hiring system. So the sellerprocess.com/hiring system, you will find all the information about the hiring system I mentioned before. And you can also reach out to me directly on LinkedIn or by email if you would like to learn more. Obviously, I'm happy to do that. And by the way, actually, in our website, if you just stay on the homepage, you will find like a WhatsApp chat that you can use, and that will connect to me directly. So you can also use the WhatsApp chat in our homepage on the website.
Great. Thank you, Gianmarco. This was great. You touched a lot of important subjects, and being the nomad that you are, and running a completely remote operation, looking at numbers, this is doesn't really matter where you are based. You have to know your numbers, and you have to be watching them, and you have to have systems in process. This was great. Thank you, Gianmarco.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for having me.
And this brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure and subscribe, rate, and review our show. And be sure and share an episode with a friend. And thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week here on Amazon Legends.